This is Dominic. Dominic works at a 5-star restaurant called the Pixel Palace. There, some of video games' most popular celebrities pop in to have a drink. Sometimes they share stories and even secrets. Because as we all know, what the bartender hears is confidential, isn't it?
So I'm sitting there, tending bar, when in walks someone I haven't seen in a long time, Sonic. Now Sonic usually has a lot of energy in him, and this time was no exception, but it seemed a little reserved this time. And we sat down, I ordered a cranberry juice. I was like, you don't usually get cranberry juice. He says, I know, well, I've been through quite a lot. He seemed very twitchy, to say the least. He was constantly fidgeting with his hands and looking left and right all the time, and I said, Mr. S, what's wrong? He says, very, very fast manner, he says, well, I'm clean, I don't do the stuff anymore. I said, what stuff? He says, well, you know, I have a very addictive personality, and I talk fast, I need speed, it's all about the speed, and after a while I got addicted. I said, addicted to what? He said, the rings, man, I got addicted to the rings. And I said, the golden power rings? And he says, yes, I was addicted, and I just got out of rehab. And I said, oh, wait a minute, you went to rehab for golden rings? He says, no, I went to rehab for crystal meth. But it started off with the golden rings, you know. After a while, it just made you go faster and faster and faster, that it just wasn't enough. It's all about the speed, man, he says. Talking faster and faster, just getting more and more twitchy. Says, I couldn't go fast enough. I had to go faster, beyond the speed of light, beyond the speed of sound, beyond the speed of speed. I don't know what that meant, but apparently he knew. But it got to a point, he said, where it was just starting to ruin his life. You know, he'd go to pawn shops, sell off all his material possessions, just for rings. Just awful rings. It was so sad. And it got to a point where he felt like the pawn shop was ripping him off, and when they weren't giving him the best deal. So he does that spin where he kind of turns into a saw, however the hell he does that, and he destroys all the material in there, all the possessions, everything, all the pawn stuff, just totally destroyed. Well, that lands him in a bit of trouble, and unfortunately he's sent to jail. But luckily he says his good friend Tails bailed him out, and it was all okay, but Tails had a different agenda. See, Tails actually a bit of a pusher, if you know what I mean. And he says, I have something even better than golden rings. It's these things called meth rings. I don't even know you can make rings out of meth, but there you go, shows you what I know. And Tails says to him, you don't even have to steal. First one's free. Then you have to pay, and then you have to steal, but yeah. So he gets really addicted to the meth rings, and unfortunately when you get really addicted to these kind of things, they have horrible, horrible side effects. Why do you think he's blue? It's a side effect. How many blue hedgehogs do you know? But that wasn't the only side effect. He was physically pushed to the limit. I mean, before, he was built like Arnold. He had muscles, biceps, you wouldn't believe it. But now, his legs and arms, they're like twigs. And he kept telling me, it was all about the speed, I couldn't get enough. He was so into it that he couldn't even see really what Tails was doing. You know, that he was a dealer. That was one thing, but when he found out he was working for Robotnik, that was the last straw. You just wouldn't believe that Tails and Robotnik would be working together, but apparently Robotnik got him addicted on the stuff very early on too. That's the power of those rings. It is a drug, it is an addiction. And unfortunately it was just getting more and more out of control. You know, he was picking fights with all the big ones. Speedy Gonzales, the Roadrunner, the Flash. He would always challenge them to races, and of course he would always win because he's hyped up on the rings. It's like steroids. In ring form. With meth. So he'd go around picking fights with everybody, racing them all. When he ran out of ideas, he challenged Slowpoke Rodriguez. Boy, that was a mismatch, I can tell you. But that wasn't enough, he says. It was all about the speed. More speed, he says. After a while, he started outrunning race cars, trains, all because of the Ring Devil, always chasing the Golden Dragon. I think the lowest point was when they found him at Six Flags on the Batman ride, just going around on the loops over and over and over and over. They would have done something earlier, but people just assumed it was one of the costume mascots. They finally found him face down in the bathroom urinal, with a traffic cone on his head and cotton candy in his bum. That was a sorry sight for the kids, seeing an American icon with his face down in piss. People thought they drowned a Smurf. It was a sad sight, to say the least. Finally, the police decided this was a problem and needed to be dealt with, so they locked him in a rubber room where he was bouncing off the walls. Literally, he can do that. With his supersonic speed, he was literally bouncing off the walls. It was quite an embarrassing sight from what I understand. But he said those days were over. He's just gonna have his cranberry juice at the Pixel Palace and that would be it. I told him, I said, well, why did you need the speed anyway? Was it really necessary? I mean, when you have so much in your life and you have so much going for you, why would you need drugs? The natural high of life, that should be enough. Speed is not the answer. The drugs are never the answer. It's life. Life, that's the answer, not speed. It's never speed. He then pissed all over the bar and ran circles around the tables. He also did a tap dance on the chandelier singing Go Speed Racer Go. See, he was on speed at the time. I didn't know that. So I get a little drilled in and call Pixel Palace security, and he strips down totally naked and starts dancing across the bar. Of course, stripping naked for him is just taking off the gloves and shoes, but for an anamorphic life form, that's still very shocking. So security comes in and tries to get him to calm down, but he wouldn't have any of it. So he rushed to the roof, howled at the moon, insisted he could fly, jumped off the building and plummeted to the sidewalk. See, he couldn't fly. Turns out the only thing that can stop momentum like that is the ground. 5 inches of thick cement to be exact. 2 inches after they peeled him off the sidewalk. And he looks at me as they drag him into the police car. And he says, if at first you don't succeed, a chicken ate your hamster. Did I mention he was on drugs? It's so sad to see things like that. It's just so sad. A great American Idol succumbed to rings. Meth rings. I don't know when people are gonna just wake up. You see a lot of strange things as a bartender. You see a lot of strange things at the Pixel Palace. So, I see a lot of strange things as a bartender at the Pixel Palace. And that's no lie. Swear to it.